Welcome in, folks. My name is Guest, also known as ItsGuestGaming, and let's just dive right into it. This is the March 21st OTA adjustment patch and may be the official downfall of Thanos. We'll get to him momentarily. Let's dive into going back into the past. We're rewinding the clock a little bit and we're bringing back a 4/5 Captain Marvel. Now, I agree exactly with what the devs are saying here because I literally just put this up on Tuesday. I said, this is my OTA want. I'd love to see Captain Marvel back as a 4/5. There we go. And I'm happy about it because it makes sense. When she was nerfed down to 4/4, you were seeing a lot of the Dark Hawk combination decks. You were seeing a lot of the Black Bolt and Stature combination decks, and she completely fell off. Now as a 4/5, maybe there's actually an opportunity for her to do something worthwhile because there are some decks that can actually rock a 4/5 and not feel bad about it. 4/4 always feels weak. You're always looking for that something else. Even with an Absorbing Man, you always felt like it has to be only for very specific procs that are going to generate more power. You never felt that way with a 4/4 Captain Marvel. I'm glad that they brought her back to 4/5. There's not much else to say here, except that maybe she's actually finally gonna get a little bit of love. But unlike Apocalypse, she got love. He got nerfed. And I love exactly what the devs said here. Discard, they officially have acknowledged publicly, is now really starting to become the top of the metagame. And we knew that was going to happen with, Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight. These were cards that we expected to do well. We expected them to bring Discard up to what we thought could have been the competition thresholds we were hoping it would be. I was hoping it would be. I said it in way too many videos that this is what might bring it to be finally competitive. But so much so that it's now probably just over what should be good enough, even though it doesn't feel like that because we're all still trying to keep up with Thanos decks. Apocalypse, though, they know this is probably the only one that they may need to adjust by taking off a little bit of the base power. And I'm happy that they didn't change his +4s instead of to a ridiculous amount of +3s, for example, which could have had a similar ceiling after a certain number of effects, etc. But look, if you get it to discard once, that's kind of the goal of the card anyway. It's going to be a 6/10, which means the biggest card who will be affected by this is not Apocalypse. It's actually Dracula. And Dracula being brought down from being a 4/13 regularly to now being a 4/11 regularly is pretty important and may actually swing out Dracula, in my opinion. Even though a 4/11 is nothing to be sneezing at, I do think that the want to have APOC discard more than once so he could be a played card even might become a little bit more appealing if you can use that 4-cost slot differently in the future. I'm not sure yet. We're going to have to test out the new Apocalypse and see what he does, but I understand why they did it. Just like this one. I understand why they did it. They took the Mind Stone and made it a 2/1. And there are several things in what the devs said that I want to acknowledge here. Number one, they know it's unusual because the stones should be 1 cost. Number two, they say it right here, and I quote, "We don't think this is likely to fully solve the Thanos problem." That's impressive that they're still looking to try to figure out how to fix Thanos, and they don't have an answer yet. So they're going to take the strongest stone in the deck and just make it more expensive. When you think of the curve of how you want to play Thanos, Mind Stone on 1 used to be, many moons ago, a snap condition. On turn 1, get 2 stones. You could play 2 more on turn 2. Now, to occupy 2 stones worth of play, you have to cost 2 stones. And I think that this is going to have a much heavier effect than people will anticipate. Because right now, the whole goal of the Thanos deck is moving away from Lockjaw fodder to now being stones are valuable. Stones have a purpose on the board. And any 2/1 is going to feel weak in a Thanos deck, like Psylocke. They are now bringing Psylocke down from 2/2 down to 2/1 because between these two movements here of changing the last patch OTA, they worked on the Time Stone, right? Change how the Time Stone worked. It's not just buy your own quick and easy and cheap Psylocke. They acknowledge that Psylocke is also doing something they don't want the Thanos decks to do, which is ramp. They want to stop Thanos' ramp. They want the stones to have value and purpose, and they want the deck to be focused around Thanos and then other things that happen to synergize with it, rather than utilizing Thanos' pieces as a means to produce a different deck, which is kind of what we're seeing with the evolution of Hope Summers and Psylocke, and now we've got Mockingbird in the mix, Call Obsidian. It's building its own secondary deck. Thanos means nothing. When do you see a 620 Thanos on the battlefield? You're going to see it even less now with a 2-cost stone, but yet alone with a Psylocke as well, coming in at 2-1, this does tremendously hurt the overall value of what this card brings. It may seem only like 1 power, but think about how good it felt previously to have the Mind Stone on 1 and then Psylocke on 3. That was a pretty big combination. This is no longer going to be the case, in my opinion, because now the Mind Stone on 2 gives you 2 stones. You want to play those stones on 3. I think this may even end up having a filter change between the Mind Stone and Psylocke. This may have a filtered change between the 2 of them that might work towards Hope Summers even being reconsidered if we start moving away from the ramp version of Thanos. Stay tuned. Adam Warlock. They're trying this again, but now they're doing a 5/5 because they like him in Cerebro 5. I don't know if this is a necessary pit stop, but I'm here for it. Look, they're trying, okay? They're really trying to make Adam Warlock work. They want this 5-cost thing to be the answer, right? We saw it with Spider-Man 2099. Now we're seeing it with Adam Warlock. They're really trying to make it work. I mean, no, I don't think it will. I really don't think it will. I don't think 5/5 is going to bring it over the top. I don't think Cerebro 5 is a competitive enough deck that it will justify Adam Warlock regularly needing to be there. But we're going to try. We're going to try. We kind of need to try. And we'll come back to that. Last change is a group change, because the last big change is just rounding out what is happening with the Guardians of the Galaxy. All the Guardians of the Galaxy have felt like absolute doo-doo, minus Gamora. Gamora's got some, good utility because you have a card like Daredevil that can help synergize that guaranteed 5/12. That always felt good. Or even if you had a Galactus deck and you're down to 1 lane, of course, it's towards the end of the game. You don't mind playing the 5 cost because it's 12 power. But you never felt good playing Star-Lord. You'd always go with Medusa or Lizard or now even Maximus and take the downside with it. Groot, they've tried working on Groot in the past, it backfired. They tried working on Drax in the past, it backfired. So they're doing 2 things at once here. They're first off making sure that they're uniform, and that's so much easier to follow. So much easier. So instead of Rocket Raccoon's going to be getting the +2, and then Star-Lord would get the +3, but then it's only 2 for Groot, and then only 2 for Drax. Oh, but don't forget about Gamora, who's getting 2, no 5. Like, it was just all over the place. Now, they're all +4s. Every single one of them. But their bases end up changing because of it. So Rocket Raccoon might be a 1/1, but if you hit with that, that's a 1/5. Instead of what he previously was, which was only maxing out at 1/4. So Rocket Raccoon might have gotten a base nerf, but a really big buff for those who actually did use Rocket Raccoon. I do think this will actually end up being more impactful, specifically in Shauna decks. We are seeing more and more of them start to rise up. I could see that having an effect there. Star-Lord now has a ceiling of 2/6. Is a lot more appealing in certain decks now. Groot has a ceiling of 3/7, and Drax has a ceiling of 4/9. Those 2 in particular are probably the 2 biggest problem children in Marvel Snap. We have tried repeatedly, and there was a small little time, courtesy of W, who got Drax to work at being a 4/6 that got +2. But now he's going to be a 4/5 that gets +4. And I might want to revisit that. Maybe this is finally the combination of cards that we needed to make a Jean Grey deck really shine. Because Gamora kind of received a buff, but kind of received a nerf, even though she never procced off twice. She's still going to be really used as a 5/12, but now she's more secure as a base card, even if you miss. She's now a 5/8. So she probably is actually the winner here, even though she got the add-on nerf. I'm not upset about it. Like, not upset about it at all. So I'll be happy with dealing with this as the new version of the Guardians. My favorite, probably Gamora, even though she got the end nerf, followed by Rocket Raccoon. But let's go back for a second here, because we talked briefly about Cerebro 5, and we had 2 cards in this patch actually end up being Cerebro 5 cards. This is how it would have felt before, and it would have felt incredibly awful to play this deck, because it made absolutely no sense. But with 2 little changes, maybe it's worth it again. Maybe this is finally the case where we say Captain Marvel's now justified, or Adam Warlock serves a purpose here. We've got the movement going around between Silk and Spider-Man, so we only need to play the Miles on certain curves anyway. Wave into Dr. Doom always felt good, especially if you didn't have Cerebro. Now, Wave into Dr. Doom into Adam Warlock actually does have a standing chance because you've got a lot of 5s on the board. You could actually get that card draw that gives you the Cerebro you need. So, I don't know. I mean, is there a way to really make Cerebro 5 work? Like, I was looking at Supergiant and Alioth combinations. I was looking at, do I put in Medusa over Lizard? But I decided that Man-Thing right now is probably going to end up being a really important card because of the Thanos stones and the reduction there. We're already rocking Luke Cage, so Lizard isn't going to reduce down anyway. So we're going to tinker with a couple of different ideas here. And I like the fact that Cerebro 5 might finally become slightly competitive. All we need, in my opinion, is a 5-cost card that changes the location. I looked at Magic and trying to throw that in here, but I didn't want to put too many non-5s into the deck. I think 2 deviating off is enough, and Luke Cage is incredibly valuable. Maybe we justify swinging out Man-Thing in the future for Enchantress. Who knows? But I think that this is a great start to say Cerebro 5 might have a chance finally in Marvel Snap. Do you think maybe Cerebro 5 actually does? Do you have a better build of Cerebro 5? You let me know, because right now I think that the biggest win for buffs is going to be the Captain Marvel buff overall, and the biggest win for NERFS, hands down, is the Mind Stone finally being addressed in some way, even if this isn't the final result. What do y'all think of this patch here for the 21st, right? It's the 21st? Yep, the 21st of March 2024. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you like this kinds of content, as always, please hit that like and subscribe button down below, and we will see you all next time. Have a great night, everybody.